MAGA is done. Have you noticed that they haven't been around much at all? There's a couple of reasons for this. The most obvious is that Trump doesn't need them anymore. He literally doesn't need MAGA anymore. There will be no more rallies. He used them and got everything he needed from them. He doesn't need them anymore. He is done with MAGA. And MAGA is in the corner quietly crying because they're done with him. And you want to know why? Because MAGA are food stamps. Yeah. Probably one of the biggest recipients of SNAP, food stamps, welfare, MAGA. Oh, and how about the no taxes on tips and no taxes on overtime? MAGA. That wasn't in the bill. That's not in the bill. That is not on the agenda. They keep telling you that it is, but it's literally not. MAGA are poor. MAGA need Medicaid. MAGA no have Medicaid. Soon. Tariffs hurt MAGA. MAGA no like tariffs. MAGA are farmers. Farmers are MAGA. Farmers hurting. MAGA hurting. Trump is canceling federal programs. A state like California, where I live, they can afford to pick up the tab for those programs for the state of California. But states like Oklahoma, no, they're not going to be able to afford that once Trump kills those federal programs. MAGA no like that. But Trump don't care. Trump no like MAGA anymore. Trump no need MAGA. Trump no more MAGA rallies. So what's MAGA going to do to change this? That's up to them, because me no care. Trump no care. You no care. MAGA are on their own.
It's time to speak up. So a few days ago, Stephen Miller said that anyone who preaches hate against America will be deported. And hate, according to Stephen Miller and the Trump regime, is speaking out against the president. Speaking out against the current administration is now, according to this regime, that is preaching hate against America. So here's what I'm going to need all you guys to do. All of you who talk so badly about Joe Biden, everybody that drug President Obama's name through the mud, I'm going to need you guys to go ahead and self-report. You know, the government's sending out letters now to people that they believe need to self-deport. And so I am going to start sending all you guys letters to self-deport, because you've broken the law now. You've broken the law now, according to what President Trump has said the law is. When you speak out against a current administration, when you speak out against a president, apparently that's preaching hate against America. And you guys have been doing that for a long time. So I'm so sorry to tell you, but it's time for you to self-deport, because you have been preaching hate against America. When you spoke out against what you didn't like about President Biden, when you spoke out against what you didn't like about President Obama, apparently that's preaching hate against America. Do you understand how this works now? Can you see for even a second that what we are doing here is not preaching hate against America? It is standing up for what we believe America is. So this goes both ways. You cannot have it that speaking out against an administration is preaching hate against America unless you guys go first, because you've been doing it for a lot longer. So go ahead. I'll give you at least 30 days notice. I think that's what they're giving people, 30 days. That should be enough to wrap up your life and deport yourself to a new place, right? Oh, you're an American citizen? Guess what? According to Stephen Miller, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, because anyone includes American citizens. So there you go. Go out there and love your neighbor.
All right, it is a white shirt day. I know I'm not wearing my white shirt, but pretend I am, because I didn't want to sit indoors all day, and I can't wear a white shirt into the outdoors because it'll get destroyed. Anyhow, we need to talk about something rather serious, which is China published a white paper letter on the 9th, and they chose the number 9 for a specific reason, 9th of April here, outlining the problems they're having with the United States in terms of trade and economics. And in that paper is effectively a not so subtle threat to the United States. Now, back in December, Donald Trump said that any country, any BRICS country specifically, that would circumvent the United States currency, the US dollar, would face 100% tariff. Now, in this paper, they reaffirmed that they are going ahead to be working in local currencies, making trade agreements and working with banking systems that are not the US SWIFT system, that do not utilize US dollar. So that's them basically giving a big finger to Donald Trump, saying we're going to ignore that threat. And right now, China's under 145% tariffs, right? Well, in the paper, they were very clear that they've done everything that was required of them legally in terms of maintaining trade agreements, in terms of importing more U.S. goods like they agreed to in the last round of negotiations. They have capitulated in terms of making sure that there are strong IP protections and copyright protections and trademark protections and enforcing that and creating new legislation for it and new policing, basically, around that specifically. And so in this paper, they are going through and they are very, very carefully and structurally laying out all of the ways that they can hurt the U.S. if the U.S. decides to continue this aggressive action against them. And the reality is, they have the power, effectively, to eliminate 1/3 of the U.S. economy by ignoring these things like IP protection and trademarks and copyrights. Because if there isn't a trade agreement, which technically now there isn't because Trump did violate the trade agreement, so they could say on a legal basis that they're throwing it out the window, it doesn't apply anymore. And there goes all of those protections. And one thing they've also clearly laid out in that is that they were enforcing a policy that there wouldn't be forced assimilation of technology, and that's basically reverse engineering. Now, that's something they're very, very good at, and they have been for a very long time. I don't think anybody has ever been ignorant of that. And in this situation where they're going, if you continue to tariff us like this, we are going to throw these agreements out the window, that puts the U.S. in a very tedious position. Actually, not even tedious. That puts them in the worst position they could possibly ever be in. Because China, first off, has started manufacturing the RISC-V chip, which is a processor chip in competition with like Intel and AMD and stuff like that, except it's open source. And open source technologies tend to accelerate, they tend to evolve much more quickly than proprietary stuff. So the fact they're manufacturing this and putting this out there for anybody to buy is a big thing. It's threatening basically the entirety of the US chip production. They also are working on technology, and they've actually published it now, that they can print a computer chip that's two-dimensional effectively. It's only 1 atom thick, which is something that Intel said they were going to do by 2027. So they're ahead of them in that game. They just came out saying they managed to run a fusion reactor for over 1,000 seconds, which is now a new record. No one's managed to do it more than, I think, 500 seconds. So they doubled the record. So they are leaders in technology now, and it's not surprising when you look at their education system, because the U.S. has their Ivy League, which is a mix of like legal, arts, sciences, yada, yada, yada. China's universities are primarily technological universities, and they produce twice as many graduates out of their Ivy League system, which is called the C9, I believe, or 9C. There's 9 of them that are qualified in their terms as Ivy League schools. There's 8 in the United States, but they produce twice as many graduates. But they actually have about 38 schools that are at the Ivy League, producing like almost 1 million students. So the United States is in some serious trouble, because now you have a very qualified civilian workforce that is capable of outpacing the U.S. workforce without any issues at all whatsoever. So the United States really needs to back off on their position, and Canadians need to be aware of this too, because Mark Carney actually said the biggest threat right now is China, and he's not wrong. Because if you're on the bad side, yes, they are a threat to you. If you're on their good side, great trade buddy, or can be a great trade buddy if the agreements work out well. So I would expect you see him to addressing those tariffs against China ASAP, because right now we're in a very bad position. We don't want to be in this position where we have tariffs on them, where they waited several months, because we put them back in October, and they only this last month said that, hey, okay, we're going to tariff Canada as well. And we should be looking at that, restructuring that, and making sure we have a good trade agreement with them, because we don't want to be in a position like the U.S. is. Now, good thing is most of our economy is based off resources and travel or tourism. There is manufacturing, of course, but we're lucky we're not in the position the United States is in. Let me put it that way. Right now, I'm looking at the United States going, oh, you guys are cooked, because there's no way Donald Trump is going to walk back voluntarily his position on China. Peppers. And they are in a position that no country has ever been in. We're looking at two countries where one has the power to economically wipe out the other. I mean, just look at the resourcefulness of the Chinese population over the last couple of weeks here. They're now on TikTok selling stuff directly to customer, circumventing all the middlemen that be making money in the United States. They're going to remove $3 to $5 trillion worth of U.S. GDP by simply doing business directly with customers, because that money will be going directly to China. It will not be circulating in the U.S. economy. And that is the amount that basically retailers make off of Chinese goods every year. It's between $3 and $5 trillion. So if those goods are not at those retailers, Walmart, Walgreens, all these major department stores, just look around your house, see how many things are made in China. When those are no longer on the U.S. market for those companies to make profits off of, what do you think is going to happen to the employment rate? The unemployment rate specifically. What do you think is going to happen to corporate profits? Do you think these stores are going to be able to keep running when there's 145% tariffs on China? No, they're not going to be able to do it. Will China keep running? Sure. Yeah, they'll survive. It's only 2% of their GDP, right? The U.S. is looking at a position where, 1/6 of their GDP could be wiped out. Potentially a third of their GDP could be completely wiped out if China no longer cooperates with them. And the reality is the Trump administration under the Mar-a-Lago Accord wanted to devalue the U.S. currency while maintaining global reserve currency status, which isn't going to happen. And of course, his followers don't know that they're trying to devalue the currency 20 to 30%, and they're effectively going to have 20 to 30% less money to work with, because anything being imported will be more expensive in terms of what they can afford to buy. So yeah, it's a pretty shitty situation for them, and they're going to fail at this posturing. They can't succeed at it. So yeah, we might actually be witnessing the downfall of a nation in real time, so to speak. I don't feel like it's going to be a slow, drawn-out thing, especially if China decides to go, nope, we're not cooperating anymore, because the U.S. can't sanction them. They can't do anything to them. They're too big. They don't have control over their banks. They don't have control over their currency. There's nothing they can do. There's literally nothing they can do. Yeah, so they're in a... Yeah. Anyways, that's all I got for you.
To get you ready for a good week, I want you to know that MAGA is breaking apart. There is no way I can post all the stories, all the comments, all the information that I'm getting from you guys, from people in my life, from other sources that are showing me and telling me all the things that are happening, that they are seeing in their lives. Now, one of my original videos about cults is that they quit in silence, and that is true. Like, for example, there could be a couple that both want to leave for a long time, but they're both afraid that the other one will leave them if they find out they want to leave. And then sometimes, in an accidental way, they'll find out that the other one wants to leave, and they'll go, oh my gosh, me too. Oh, thank God. It's kind of like that. Like, I'm the oldest of 8, and I had been thinking of leaving for a long time. But I was just scared to bring it up to everyone because you're afraid to get attacked. And then finally I said something to my sister late at night, and I said, what do you think about? She goes, I think it's a bunch of crap. And I went, me too. Okay, good. We're done here. So it's kind of like that, but you hold it in for so long. So just because your family isn't saying, yeah, I'm leaving, or, oh, he's awful, that doesn't mean that that isn't there. They're just processing. They're trying to find a safe space or a safe time to say it, someone to say it to. Maybe they need more evidence of other people leaving. And that's why I would love to get all this out and just be able to put it on billboards and go, okay, everyone, this actually is happening. Just because you don't see it in your house. But, I'm surprised. I love the stories, though. They're breaking down monuments. It's like some people have, their house looks like a monument. It's all ripped down. Someone built a throne. All taken down. Someone had him up as a mannequin doing whatever. All gone. Flags are coming down right and left. A lot of people just say they're Republican now. Or they talk about George W. Bush is the best president. They're recalibrating everything. Because they have to. But, people are saying, the people at work are saying they're scared that he's going to ruin the economy. They're scared that he's arresting people he said he wouldn't. And I don't want to hear they should have known, because if you say that, that means you're ignorant to how cults work. And I'm here to educate about how cults work. And I do that on YouTube at Cult College. And those videos will be starting soon. In the meantime, I'm just posting ones from here because you've asked for them, so you can post them on Facebook. Because my stuff there is doing very well, I guess. They're not getting a lot of pushback, getting a lot of shares, which is another sign of something. So I don't want people coming in saying they should have known, because all that tells me is you are uneducated about cults, because you simply wouldn't say it. I want people educated about cults because I don't want to repeat this forever. I don't want our children to live in that world. I don't want us addicted to our rage, because that will get us zip. Rage is like pouring toxin in the ground and hoping flowers are going to bloom down the road. No, we have to be very conscious of the seeds that we are planting for the flowers to bloom. And that's not about empathy and feeling sorry for them. No, it's called strategy. It's called being intelligent. It's called being an adult. That's just the way it is. Life isn't fair. We have to be adults. If I want flowers down the road, if I want a safe world for children and immigrants and oppressed people, I have to plant the right seeds right now, no matter what the environment is. That's my job as a human being, as a responsible adult. I don't get a day off. I don't get to say the people I love most are in the most danger, so I'm sitting this one out. I can't. Not if I want to be who I say I am for people. I just can't do it. If you have to, that's your choice. I'm not here to judge you for that. But for me, I cannot do that. But I guess all I wanted to say was go into this week feeling lighter. Trump he's had his pinnacle of whatever he's going to do. People are seeing him for who he is. And in cults, because you're quiet, you also have your ear to the floor kind of thing, because you want to see if you hear anyone else saying stuff. And so if we can get these messages posted all over, they will have a way to be able to say, I'm seeing a lot of posts that people are leaving. Do you think they're real? What do you think? They need an innocent way to bring it up instead of saying, I think something's going on. They need ways to do that, to engage. And the more people that say that, the more likely they are to leave, because they'll feel like they have permission to do it. Because cults' brains are not their own. They require a lot of validation to do what they do. So anyway, it's just good news. It's just good news. And I wish I could just mail you all a big envelope of all the stuff so you can see it. I try and get them on here, but sometimes they just don't get very far. But anyway, believe and have faith, because it is happening.
MAGA no like tariffs. Tariffs make price go up. MAGA no like trade war. Biggest trade war with China. MAGA no like. Why? China buy no more beef from red states. Red states have too much beef. Oversupply of beef. Must sell lower price. MAGA no like. They pretend they're okay with it because they'll put up with anything that Mr. Dump does. But they no like. China no buy chicken, poultry. Simple economics, supply and demand. Now we will have lots of beef and lots of poultry. That means price go down. Good for us, bad for farmers. MAGA no like tariffs. MAGA no like trade war. MAGA no like how China fighting back with US. Did you know that like 90% of what everybody buys for Christmas toys, games from around the world, do you know where they mostly come from? Where they're mainly manufactured? China. MAGA no like that. This Christmas, toys, very expensive. In preparation, companies slow down production. Shelves will be empty. No Christmas for MAGA. And whatever does get shipped here from China, the tariff, that's just a fancy name for a tax. MAGA no like tax. MAGA no have money, MAGA poor. Prices going up. MAGA quiet lately, MAGA regret. But MAGA won't admit. MAGA just quiet. Marches across the country? Good. MAGA no like protest marches. MAGA likes to attack Capitol. MAGA likes insurrection, but they call it a gathering, a peaceful one. MAGA no like protests going on in all the cities. MAGA no like hands off. MAGA learning the hard way. Trump learning the hard way. Over soon.
Something I think about a lot is that, like, we're gonna have a whole point in history for our children, grandchildren, that it's going to be the MAGA generation. Do you realize how much this is going to go down in history? Hey kids, do you like violence? Do you want to see me stick 9-inch nails in each one of my eyelids? Like, literally, this is going to be the things that people tell stories about. Because what the fuck? Yeah, our kids are going to be learning about this one day, and they're going to be like, Mom, were you around when the MAGA cult happened? Yes, son, I was. Yes, grandson, I was. Let me tell you some stories. Because that shit wasn't cute. It was scary, and if we get out the other side of this, at least there'll be some fun fucking stories to tell.
Y'all, do you think MAGA ever reflects and realizes and sees that the things they advocate for so passionately and angrily and loudly, we've seen that style of advocacy all throughout history, and it almost always aligns with the side of the oppressor or the side of the divider or the side of the excluder? Like, this is nothing new. The whole, you can't use our bathrooms, you can't play in our sports, you can't play with our kids, you can't go to our schools, you can't live in our communities, you can't work in our offices. You know what? You can't learn from those books. You know what? You can't read and observe that history. This is a level of oppression and dividedness that we have seen over and over and over again. And by the way, we have beat it over and over and over again. But MAGA, this is historic. And do you realize you are standing 10 toes down on the wrong side of history? And listen, MAGA, the reason that your advocacy is not seen as heroic or protective, it's because the things that you're so adamantly against don't actually pose a threat to you. If anything, they offer you the opportunity to grow past your prejudices and your biases and your deeply rooted, ingrained, conditioned hate. They give you an opportunity to be better if you can find empathy and acceptance and love somewhere in your heart. But you know what? You're not actually afraid of these people. You're afraid that they'll be as accepted and made as comfortable in society as you are. And that is a level of equality and acceptance and welcoming and of love thy neighbor that you're just not willing to give. But that doesn't matter, because we will continue to push society forward. Onward.
Hi. Well, it's Sunday. So recently I ran into two of my friends, and they were both big Trump supporters. So I stopped and I said, hey, what do you think about everything that's going on with the cuts and childhood cancer research and cuts to U.S. aid? And so what do you think? How's it going? And they both said, well, since the election, we decided not to follow politics that closely. Really? So you voted for Trump, but now you don't want to follow politics? And why is that? Well, it was just too upsetting. Oh, really? You voted for Trump? Choke on that word. You voted for Trump, and now you don't want to take any responsibility? Fuck you.
I just saw a video of a Trumper on here. You've probably seen it. And he's basically like, I voted for Trump. These tariffs are killing me as a small business owner. I need some help. Some Democrats in the comments are trolling him, of course. And someone commented like, I love this for you. And the Trumper replied via video. And he was like, oh, you love this for me, blah, blah, blah. What the fuck did you expect? We told you this, and we got called elitist. We told you the impact tariffs have on the economy, and you were like, you guys think you're so smart? This is basic knowledge. So the guy makes the video back, and he's like, I knew Trump was going to tariff. I thought it would push people to build in the USA. I'm going to explain this to you like you're 5. Have you ever watched Shark Tank, okay? And a product's on there, and the sharks go, why is it so expensive? And the person goes, it's made in the USA. Why do you think they say that? Why do you... Everything's more expensive in the United States. That's why we get things internationally. And as a small business owner, I'm surprised you don't know that. You didn't think this would start a trade war, huh? Like last time? And last time was significantly less than all the tariffs he's doing this time. Like, you don't get to play victim, okay? You were warned, you ignored it. Now you're paying the consequences for voting without knowing how things work.